Hello everyone, welcome to our channel, The Tesla Campers. Today we have some tips for you that we want to share with you when going camping with your Tesla Model X and trailer.
Every single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way. Every single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way.
The first thing you should know is you need the right ball height. If you need a riser or a drop in your receiver. Most likely all Teslas will need a riser when you have a decent sized trailer. In my case it was a 3-inch. How to figure that out is very simple. You measure as shown in the picture from the top of your hitch and then from the bottom of your coupler on the trailer, and then you subtract them by each other. The number you get is either a plus or a minus, and then you know you need a drop or you need a rise. Recommended I would say is do this with a standard height from your air suspension. Don't go in very low or low. So the second thing we want to talk about is the charging of the trailer battery with a Tesla hooked up to it. You keep that in mind because this is a very important thing to know. The output is not as high as on my truck, for example, what I had before. What was 13 amp, I believe it was, that I measured last. So the Tesla charges around 2.94 amps only. If you run your fridge on DC, as I did before and I was used to it, you will see as soon as you get to your campsite or as soon as you get to your destination, the battery on the camper is just dead. And there's not sufficient enough of charge for the battery to keep up with cooling your fridge on DC. Unfortunately, I can't run my fridge on gas while I'm driving. You will see why later on because I show a picture of the trailer. But we are coming up with a different solution for this. We are going to install 2 panels, each with 230 watts, that will charge hopefully enough the battery when we drive, and then we will see if that's going to give us the proper charge. The third thing we want to talk about is supercharging. If you can, I would probably avoid supercharging in the city. The simple reason is just there's sometimes not a stall for a trailer or a vehicle with a trailer system. Most urban areas that I have seen so far have like these supercharger with like a side pull-in. You can just pull straight into the stall, plug it in without unhooking and disconnecting your trailer. Makes a hell lot of a difference. Like I did a trip to Grand Pass and I stopped the first 2 times in Seattle and Portland, and noticed every time I stop in there I have to unhook it, and it's like a 5-6 minute thing, but it adds up time, and it's just something you don't want to do, especially not maybe at night or when it's raining. You just want to get out, plug the cable in, charge, and then off to the next one and not worry about your trailer. The fourth things we want to talk about is the consumption when you drive. We had a Jayco trailer before, and even if the Jayco was not as heavy as the Trailman that we have right now, look in the picture here, the Jayco has a lot more surface area for the wind, and we averaged about 420 to 450 watts per kilometer with a decent slow speed around 85 to 90, not much higher. And the main reason is just really the wind. It's not actually the weight, it's the wind. So we found a better solution. We went to Trailminer, got a 724 version Sport, so it's slightly slimmer as a regular trailer, but it tucks nicely behind the car, and then when it's folded down in towing mode, it is just barely higher than the Tesla itself, and it gives you a decent consumption. So we did a round trip now with it to Kelowna. We have 2 giant hills on the way to Kelowna. The elevation gain is, I believe, around 1,600 meters, roughly. I'm not quite sure what the highest point actually is, but it goes quite long uphill. And I think I remember I saw a sign that says something. The peak is around 1,400 to 1,600 meters, roughly around that. But in average, because you have to go down the hill as well, we managed to get 336 watts per kilometer. What I find is actually a pretty good number, considering that we went mostly 100, 110, between that speed, except on the very hilly part we went down to 95 to 100 max, just to keep the consumption down, and to make it to the next supercharger. The next thing we want to talk about is how we started charging after a while that we learned. When we drive with a trailer, we go now down around to 8%, and then we charge up to around 80%. And the reason is just the charging speed is so much quicker in that range, instead of going all the way to 90 or 95 or even 100% all the time. When we leave the house, yeah, we charge with 100%, do our long stretch in the beginning. Roughly 200 kilometers is the max distance we can do. But then when we get to the first supercharger that we stop, we charge up. We usually get there with 7%, charge up to roughly 80%. That takes around 46 minutes, I believe it was last time. Depends if you share it or not, but it makes it a lot easier that way. And there's no need for you to charge up the extra 10% or going to 90, or even the extra 20% to go to 100, because regardless you will have to stop most likely on the next further step, and there is no win-win for you. If you get there with 20% and you charge up again to 95 or 90, even 100, you wait a longer time than charging from 8 to 80, getting there, get the full rate from the battery, and then charge up again only to around 80, 85, as long as you can make it to your next destination. One thing keep in mind when you charge like this, make sure you really get to your next destination. The estimate from the consumption is not quite right. I will show you a picture here. As you can see, we just left. We drove about, I think, 17 kilometers or something like that, and you can see already the drop is about 10% what it estimated from before. And we noticed through all our trips, roughly you lose about 11 to 13% in what the car estimates on consumption. The only time it's correct is when you have a very long straightaway with no hills, and you can just like cruise in the one speed, have no stop and go or so. Then it's a sign. Then you really average a low consumption around, like you can average around the low 300s. And one more thing what I want to share that I haven't mentioned in the beginning is regen. So when we installed a brake controller, I will post a clip to it later on, but you should do that as well, just to be able to turn the regen down when you really need it, when you go a long hill down and there's no traffic, there's no urban area, there's not much people around you anyway. You really want to do that so you get the most regen. Otherwise the trailer brakes are always applied, and then it slows you down quite a bit. We noticed, for example, on the Cucahala down, everybody who knows that road, it's a very steep road. With a trailer you would assume you're going to push in the full, let's say 60, whatever it shows you, 60 kilowatts in, but it's actually not. With the trailer braking as hard as it can, you're getting around 40 kilowatts back, and your brakes from the trailer getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and it's just no point of doing this. So what we do now, whenever we know there's a long stretch down and there's nobody around us, we turn the gain down to 1.2, 1.1, and when we need it, it's accessible for us, we can like instantly just turn it back up, and then we have the full brakes from the trailer, and it gives you a lot more range and a better consumption overall. So you should do that too. And one more thing too, if you run out, as I did, on the battery from your trailer, there is a trick how you can charge it. It's probably not recommended by Tesla, and it's probably not recommended for me to do the same thing, but there is a trick. Just enter the car through the passenger door, turn the car on, put it in drive, make sure hold is on, have wheel chocks on the trailer and have it hooked up, so there's enough weight that the car cannot roll away even if the hold gets off or not. Turn the creep mode off if you have creep mode on, and then just pretty much let it sit. You have to access the car through the passenger door again, and make sure you put a weight on the seat, because I noticed when there's nobody in the seat, after 30 minutes I believe it was, the car turned off by itself. So you have to put a weight in the seat, buckle it in, and then around 30 pounds, I would say 30-40 pounds, and that way you can keep it running. We had it running for 4 hours, and it charged the battery enough to give us enough energy, so we have the heat running all night without pretty much freezing our butt off in the middle of the night. So that's another little tip from us. So if you liked it, let us know or not. There's more videos coming down the pipe. We are just doing a clip right now about the solar build. Then there's already one that we filmed that has to be cut, how to install the brake controller and where to mount it best, and so you have it accessible, you can use it all the time when you need it. And some other clips as well, camping clips most likely. So if you like this, let us know, thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe.